You're listening to the Confidence Within podcast. If you are a successful professional entrepreneur who is nonetheless struggling with the fear of public speaking, then you are in the right place. This podcast is all about igniting your inner confidence, learning to show up with genuine authority and brilliance, and becoming the best version of yourself. I'm your host, Victoria Lesnyansky, and welcome to my show. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Confidence Within podcast. Today we're going to talk about leaping into the unknown. And let me give you some context for this. Maybe you get promoted at your job and now you're doing something very, very different. You're not used to it. It's a completely different set of skills. Or maybe you find a different job. Maybe even in a different industry. Again, it's something that you're not very familiar with, even though maybe your job is sort of similar. Or maybe you decide you want to start a business. It could be in line with what you're doing right now, but it's a business, not a 9-to-5 job. Or maybe you want to start a business which is completely different from what you're doing. Or maybe life throws something so new at you that you don't even know how to handle it, how to go about it. In my life, I've had a lot of leaps into the unknown, and so I wanted to share some of my advice for you, hoping that it will make it easier when you end up in a completely different environment, in a completely different industry, in a completely different job or business. In my life, some of the pivots that I had to go through were thrown at me, and some I did create by myself. For example, the very first business that I started was a web design company, which was literally exactly what I was doing at my job. So that was very much in line with what I knew. Now, the business itself was a brand new thing for me. So I had to learn how to run a business. But the actual work was something that I was doing day in, day out. And so I was very, very familiar with that. But one of my other businesses, Nutty Scientists of Houston, was something completely different from anything that I've experienced before. That business was all about inspiring kids to fall in love with science. And when I started this business, I was an experienced entrepreneur. I knew how to create a business. I knew how to run a business. What I didn't know much about was science. Science was never my favorite subject in school. And so this pivot was very hard for me because all of a sudden I'm in a completely different world where I literally did not have much experience. And while I was running the Nutty Scientists of Houston, I also started my online public speaking coaching business. Again, starting a business and running a business is not an issue, but this was something different because this was an online business compared to brick-and-mortar or in-person businesses that I used to have before. And then if that wasn't enough, life threw a curveball at me. I have 2 kids, and my oldest son, who is 16 now, but at the time he was 14, he is a very talented singer. And he did an online musical theater intensive with a coach from New York. At the end of that intensive, there was a showcase which was attended by many New York agents and managers. And he got signed by a New York talent agency, which I thought was all exciting and really great until I started getting auditions for TV and film. At the time, he had no idea how to act. And I had no idea what this acting world was in general. I know just as much as you would know. You know that this world exists and there are movies and there are stars in them and there are kids who act, but that's about all I knew. And all of a sudden, I'm in this position where I have to micromanage every little piece of that whole acting career. And all of a sudden, I'm this acting manager doing something I've never done before in the industry I have no intimate knowledge of. And if all of that wasn't enough, my son decides that he wants to start recording songs. And so completely out of the blue, with no experience whatsoever, he and I start a record label company and we start producing his singles and later release his debut album. Now, all of a sudden, I'm a music producer and I'm helping him with all the recordings and producing music and making videos and all of it. And so when I tell you that I am familiar with leaping into the unknown, I mean it. I'm very familiar with it. How to go into something that not only you have no experience in, but you don't even know what it is. Like music producing. Seriously, who knows what music producing is? Not people, like not regular people. And so I wanted to give you some advice based on my years of experience and tackling all of those situations, and hopefully it will be helpful to you. And it may not be film acting or movie producing or starting a business for you, but again, we are thrown into new situations all the time. And I think it's very, very important to develop a skill set that helps you deal with those situations very quickly and very confidently. And so if you do find yourself in a completely new environment, the first thing you need to do is to not allow yourself to get overwhelmed. This is the most important thing. It's too easy to get overwhelmed. And then you just feel paralyzed because there is so much you don't know. There is so much to do. You are literally standing there with your hands down, not knowing what to do first. So the first thing to do is to calm down and remind yourself that getting overwhelmed is not going to serve you. What's going to serve you is taking one step at a time and approaching this brand new situation, brand new business, brand new position, brand new company as something that you absolutely can handle. You have to take a deep breath and remind yourself, there is literally nothing out there that I cannot handle. I will learn, I will figure this out, I will ask for advice, I will be on top of this. So do not get overwhelmed. Second thing, lean into your experience, expertise, and skills. Because the field may be new, the business may be new, the company may be new, but if you look back at your life, you'll realize that somewhere along the way, you were preparing for this new pivot without even realizing it. This is crazy how it works. It may sound woo-woo, but this is literally what everyone realizes when they pivot. Anytime you find yourself in a brand new environment, in a brand new situation, you will realize that if you look back carefully, you have had experience that is going to help you deal with what you're facing right now. You already have had that experience, or you have the knowledge. It is absolutely 100% true. For example, when I started my online public speaking coaching business, not only I've never had an online business before, I never worked as a coach. And at the first moment, I was like, well, who am I to be coaching somebody? How can I even coach? I don't even know what it is. Until I realized that back in my early 20s, I was teaching programming to adults. I lived in Cleveland at the time, and there was this computer school. And because I was a software engineer at the time, I decided that it would be a cool part-time job to go to this computer school and teach adults how to program completely from scratch. They never programmed before. And so I became a teacher, but at the same time, I became a mentor and a coach. And the more I looked back at that time and the more I was trying to remember exactly how I was doing it, the more I realized I already know how to coach. And I'm really good at it. So do not discount your prior experiences. Do not discount anything in your life. Instead, sit down and try to think, what have I done that prepared me for this brand new situation? What have I done that truly laid the foundation for where I am right now? And I guarantee you're gonna find something in your past that's either experience, a skill, a situation, a learning moment, which prepared you for where you are right now. And that leads me to my third advice for you. Become a sponge. Literally, become a sponge. You are in a brand new situation, in a brand new environment, and you may not know everything about it. However, there are people out there who do. Learn. Learn from people, learn from books, learn from courses, learn from doing things, but become a sponge that absorbs all of the knowledge as quickly as possible. For example, when my son and I started the record label company, I literally had no idea what a record label is. And so I realized that we need to learn, and we need to learn really, really fast. And so I invested in the programs that literally walked us from the very beginning to the very end, what a record label is, how to start one, how you produce songs, how you market your albums, everything. So in a matter of days, I went from someone who was at a zero on a scale of knowledge to someone who actually understood what was happening and wasn't completely lost. I would lie if I said that I was proficient at what I was doing. No, but I knew enough where we could start producing and releasing music. Of course, we made tons of mistakes, which leads me to number 4. Accept the fact that mistakes are inevitable and be ready to feel like a complete idiot. Because it will happen. If you are in a brand new environment, again, it could be a brand new job, brand new business, brand new position, you name it, you are going to feel like a complete and total idiot at least once. But anytime you make a mistake, don't let that mistake bring you down. Don't hate yourself for making the mistake. Just remind yourself that this was not a mistake. This was not a failure. This was a lesson. Because the truth is, how else are we going to learn? Of course, ideally, you want to learn from other people's mistakes, but you often don't know about other people's mistakes, right? You don't know, you don't see them. And so, unfortunately, we have to learn from ours. But it's only a mistake, it's only a failure if you didn't learn from it. So, for example, most of my mistakes in all of the businesses that I had are hiring mistakes. Unfortunately, hiring is one of the hardest things to do, especially when you have personality like mine, when you only want to see the best in people, you only want to believe in the goodness of everyone. It's not the best attitude when you are a hiring manager and you are hiring people for your business. You want to give everybody a chance, but sometimes people just take advantage of you. And so I've had a lot of gray hair, literally, from my hiring mistakes, but every time I made a mistake, especially when I was hiring my very first employees and contractors. Those first hires was the hardest because I literally didn't know what I was doing. I made mistake after mistake after mistake, but I was not going to let those mistakes stop me from expanding my business, right? You can't just say, okay, well, I made stupid mistakes hiring some really questionable people. I probably shouldn't hire anymore. No, of course you're going to hire again. If you want to build a business, you hire. And because I am very much a left-brain person, I like systems, I like frameworks, I started building a system around my hiring. And slowly, with every new company, my hiring process became better and better. And so now I feel very comfortable hiring new people because I understand how to hire good people, but it all comes from experience, it all comes from making mistakes. So my point is, we are all going to face the unknowns. We are all going to be thrown in situations that are brand new, that we've never experienced before, where we feel completely lost. We're going to start those businesses that we've never even heard about before. We're going to get promoted to positions that are going to really test everything in us, because those positions are going to be so different, so demanding, and they're going to request the very best of us. And so the biggest gift you can give yourself is develop not only a framework around how you're going to deal with leaping into the unknown, but also embrace leaping into the unknown. Because once you know what to do, you are going to be okay. And just to remind you, number 1, don't get overwhelmed. Number 2, lean into your experience, expertise, and skills. Number 3, become a sponge. And number 4, turn all of your mistakes into lessons. And once you embrace this system, once you implement this system into your life, you will realize that not only you're not afraid of leaping into the unknown, you look forward to it. It's a challenge, yes, but it makes you feel as if you can do anything. And so go after your dreams with confidence. Go after that brand new job that you always wanted and are afraid to go after. Go after that promotion. Start that business. Leap into the unknown and enjoy the journey. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you spending the time with me every Wednesday, and I cannot wait to connect with you next week. Bye for now. This show is brought to you by my Brilliant Speakers Academy program. Brilliant Speakers Academy is an in-depth coaching program for high-level professionals and entrepreneurs. It's designed to obliterate your fear of public speaking for good, drastically improve your communication and presentation skills, and help you show up with genuine confidence, authority, and brilliance. To learn more about the program, go to www.brilliantspeakersacademy.com.